Unit 15.3, Traversing Array Lists. Now, we made some lists above, and we worked with list 3 strings, and I'm going to scroll up so we can see. I want to work with list 2 now, integer objects, okay? So I'm going to do a couple of things here that I have lined up. I have the random number to add to list 2. I'm going to do how many add. I'm going to say 20 random numbers on the interval from 10 to 50. That's for list 2. Then I'm going to print all the even numbers that were generated in those random numbers. List 2. I'm going to store all the odd numbers in the new list from list 2, and then I'm going to remove all the odd numbers from list 2. Okay, this is traversing the list, going through the list and doing some sort of operation. Before I do this though, I want to show one piece of the add here. So let's say I added the number 15, okay, to list 2. This is a little tricky in that 15 is an int, okay? 15 is really a primitive. I should not be adding 15 this way. What I should be doing is I should be saying list 2 dot add new integer 15. But the API was changed to allow the addition of a primitive looking value where the API will do this for you, meaning it will turn this into this. So even though you see me adding 15 here, like as if I'm adding an int, I'm really adding this, okay? So I don't have to type this new integer 15 or new integer 6 or something like that. I'm going to add it as if I'm adding an int, okay? Now, even though I say that the API did this to make it nice and easy to add int, doesn't mean that we can add a primitive to the array list. It just means that the API gives us a quick way of doing this. So I'm going to write the word or here. Okay, so there are two ways to add. We can use the actual number 15, or we can write it the correct way. So I'm going to go ahead now and do this random number. I want to bring all the stuff back so we could do that. So let's make a random. I'm going to call it gen equals to new random. Obviously, it's going to ask me to import it. So to do this, we need loops. Okay. So I want to make a loop that's going to add 20 random numbers. Now, one thing you got to be careful here is when you're adding to a list, when you're adding to an empty list, you have to make sure you know how many you're going to add. So I'm going to do 20. So I'm adding 20 things. So I'm going from 0, stopping clearly at 20. So I'm going to add 0 to 19. I can't say list 2 dot size. This is a very common error people make when they're adding to an empty list. The reason why we can't do this is because the list is currently empty. We didn't add anything to it yet. So this loop will not run, because it would say I equals 0. Is 0 less than 0? It's going to say no. Size is 0 right now. Let's go ahead and show that. Let me print that. This is actually such a big deal. I have to spend some time working on this one because many people make this mistake. Okay, so watch what I'm about to do. I'm going to print the size. Okay, so let me just make sure we put list to size. I want to make sure we have something that could show that this is actually the size of list 2. Okay. So I'm just going to run that so I can see list to size is empty. Okay, list to size is currently 0. Why? Because we never add. The only way a list actually grows is when you call add, and it shrinks when you call remove. That just makes sense. Set doesn't change it. Okay, set just overrides this, so it stays the same size. But add increases and remove decreases the size. So because the size is 0, and I want to add, I can't add this way because when I get to the loop, it's going to say 0 less than 0 now, so it's not going to add. So we have to actually figure out a value here. So it's 20. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and just say list to, why don't you add gen.nextInt. So I'm wrapping all this together. All right, now comes the tricky part. We want to go from 10 to 50. The easy part is on the outside. Let's see here. What goes inside? You got to think. Let's try 41. 41 generates 0 to 40. When it generates a 0, if we add 1 on, we'll get, that's not 1, 10. We get a 10. If it generates 40, when we add 10 on, we get 50. So we're good here. This simply adds 20 random integers to the list. How am I going to know that? Let's print the list. We're going to make this a common theme. Once we do something to the list, we print it. Let's run that and check that out. Random numbers added. See right here? Not going to be the same every time, but we have the random numbers from 10 to 50. All right. Next, I want to print all the even numbers in list 2. Now I could use the list.size. For int I equals to 0, I less than list.size I plus plus. Now you realize I can use it now because the list is no longer empty. How do I know? We just side printed and we saw the values in there. It's not going to be the same values, but still want to make sure. So here's where we use the getter. If list2, and I have list here, so it'd be list2. If list2 dot get the value at I, okay, even numbers, mod 2 is 0, then print it. Whereas I did list2.get. So I say get me the guy at position I. So when I is 0, get me the guy at 0. Mod it with 2. Is it 0? If it is, print the guy at position 0. And keep doing that. Let's go ahead and run that and check to see if it's right. I print them vertically so we could have a clear difference here. So here's the list. The even numbers are 14, 16, another 16, 22, 20. And look like we got them, right? So that's good. The next thing we want to do, traversing this list, is to store all the numbers in a new list. So let's make a new list. Array list. Okay, so this is where we want to actually call the list something that makes sense. So since it's going to be filled with odd numbers, I'm going to call it odds. It's a list of integers. I'm going to call it odds. New array list. I'm making a list because I don't want to print the values. I want to store the values in another list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead in here now and make a loop on list 2. Undo that. Make a loop on list 2 and say if list2.get the position at I mod 2 is equal to 1 this time. I don't want to print it. I want to store it. I'm going to say odds. You add that to you. See what I did there? So I ask the guy at position 0, get me that. Check to see if that mod 2 is a 1, so it's odd. And if it is odd, add it to the odds list. So how do I know if it worked out right? Very nice and easy. Print it. And again, remember how the list is so nice. You just print the name of the list and it shows everything. Let's run that. So we have the list here. We printed all the evens. It's a long list. So let's pull this up so we could see. So here are all the evens. It was 20, then 36, then 44, and so on. And then we put all the odds in another list. 15, 13, 33, 19. They all went into another list and we were able to print them. All right. Final thing we're going to do is remove. Now, remove. This is one that gets people in trouble all the time. So let's be very careful here. I'm going to write a word here. Always, I'm going to write a couple of words, I should say. Always remove backwards. I'll explain why. You see, when you remove from a list, everything that's to the right gets shifts over to the left one. So if you go forward, and by forward I mean plus plus, if you go forward, when you remove something based on a criteria, right now we're trying to remove all the odds from list 2. If we remove them, then once we do that and we took one out, the guy on the right of him slides over into that spot. And we do plus plus, we're going to miss him. Okay, because you can imagine things are going to the left while your plus plus is going to the right. So you could miss one of those values. So the rule is always remove backwards. And it's so common, you could literally memorize it. Int I equal to not 0, but list2 dot size minus 1. I must be greater than or equal to 0 and I minus minus. This is standard. This header for the for loop is standard. Name of the list side minus 1. I greater than or equal to 0. I minus minus. Same look every time. Okay. Then you write if statement. You can say if. Well, let's go ahead and let's copy this. If that's true, then list 2, remove the, let me just undo that. Remove the guy at I. And then I'm going to print the list. Okay. I'm not going to print odds, I'm going to print list 2 because that's the one I changed. Okay, so you could see this is crucial because if you go forward, you could miss one of these. Let me run this and see if all of it's working nicely. All right, let's go ahead and check. So we have all the evens. Okay. We stored all the odds. Okay. And we removed all the odds. Let's see if this actually is true here, because if we remove all the odds from list 2, we would only be left with evens. And let's see if this list matched the print. 10, 18, 10, 34. It looks like it matches. See, I'm looking vertically down here, the ones that we printed, remember the evens. Since I take all the odds out, what's left in list 2 are going to be all the evens. And it looks like it works out. Okay, so that's going to bring us to the end of this unit. We have the remove. That's the crucial one here, okay? And when I say crucial, I mean memorize this. I mean, just really just look at this carefully, watch it over and over, because this is the way to remove. Every time you hear remove, this is how it looks. The name of the list is going to change, but the rest will be the same. Okay. All right. 15.3, traversing array list objects. That brings us to the end of 15.3.